into the slate here on a Thursday. It is Thursday, right? Thursday sports edition. We're going to really go all over the place. We're going to have baseball to start us off, just a little bit of that, mix in some NBA. Game 2 of the West Finals tonight between the Lakers and Nuggets. Of course, we'll mix in a little bit of NHL, start of the East Finals, and golf. PGA Championship is underway. So like I said, we're going to completely bounce around, stay true to our wide world of sports theme that we typically do here on a Thursday, which honestly has bled into other days as it is. Adam Kaufman, he is Gary and Thorne. Jeff Ulrich will join us in a little bit. Gary, how are you, man?
Doing good. Yeah, not the most exciting night of sports, I would say. I mean, we do have a very important NBA playoff game. I know NHL, we've got the conference finals starting tonight, so that's exciting in theory, but not exactly the heaviest sports slate. But we got a lot to talk about still.
Let's start on the diamond because it's, I don't know, maybe in some ways the least interesting element of the day, because obviously it's just, hey, regular season baseball in mid-May or, late May, wherever we are at this point in time. But, the playoffs, basketball, hockey, we'll get to that stuff. We'll allow for a little bit of build-up. And honestly, as a Celtics fan, I would like to put off my anger for a few minutes. Although it sort of started midday here, Garion, because while we have a couple games left on the diamond tonight, the Yankees, Blue Jays, Dodgers, Cardinals, and I want your thoughts on these games and how to best bet them. It's been kind of I really hope for my personal bankroll, this does not bleed into the evening, but the afternoon has been much of a Fade Kaufman kind of day because I had the Orioles, I had the Rays, I had the White Sox, I did have the Marlins, but as far as money line or even to some degree run line bets that I was making on these baseball games, everything swung the other way.
Yeah, and some of those games were tough. The White Sox game turns on a Tim Anderson error on a play that he makes 99 times out of 100. Obviously, the score going back and forth a lot late innings between the Angels and the Orioles could have gone either way. Even, get the tying run on base almost sort of kind of in the ninth inning where you've got a guy thrown out at second base trying to extend a single to a double. So I could see being a frustrating afternoon for you, Kyle.
I'm curious, just as a bettor, your perspective on this. So most people, because I'll have my text threads, I'll talk to like coworkers of ours. Most people, when they place bets, they're just, it's going to go however it goes, right? They're not getting caught up in the emotion of the game. I probably pay too much attention to the apps when I'm looking and seeing, okay, well, it's the seventh inning of this game. Orioles were down. They've come back. They've taken a lead. Should I just cash out? Just in case they blow it, should I just cash out? Then I'm profit. I'm not all the way profitable, but I am profitable, as opposed to obviously, if this goes south, I lose everything. I lose, the winnings, the investment, all of it. Are you ever a cash out guy, or are you just, especially with baseball where there is that, ebb and flow of the game, are you just going to ride it out however it goes?
Yeah, I would say it really depends on two things: the sport and the unit size. I'm not out here playing $100 units. I'll just be honest with people. So an afternoon baseball game, I'm probably not going to cash out. I'll probably just say, hey, if they lose by a run, what's $20, $40 here or there in a close spot. Cash outs for me are like futures bets considerations and golf. I'm a big cash out guy. Like if I get a chance to cash out on a ticket on Sunday afternoon, and sometimes it's even like, do I want to go outside? I could stop watching golf and go outside right now if I just cash out. So baseball, I would say the daily grind of it, you're not going to find me cashing things out all that often. But the really long investment type bets, sometimes because there isn't that instantaneous kind of reward anyway, and you can make it into an instantaneous reward, those I can see myself cashing out from time to time.
See, that's why I generally don't even make futures bets to begin with. They're very few and far between, not because I don't think they're good investments or smart plays, and obviously the advantages you can really capitalize if you have the head for it. I'm just too impatient. I
Yeah.
want immediate gratification or dissatisfaction, whichever way it's going to go. I want to see my bet slip at the end of the day settled.
Oh, believe me, I like it feels silly sometimes. I'll be like, okay, just 52 more Diamondbacks wins, and I cash my season-long win total prop. Maybe
Yeah.
that'll hit in late August, and that's an early cash out. But generally speaking, it's a tough way to live. I agree with you in that sense.
So, I mean, thank goodness, despite money line or even run line bets not going my way, I did have some pitcher props go my way. And usually I fall on the sword with those. I'll lose by the hook with regularity, and it's the most frustrating thing ever. But as we look ahead to tonight, you've got, as I said, Yankees, Blue Jays, and that was a nail biter last night. Ends up going 10 innings with no runs until the Blue Jays finally got on the board to win it. Dodgers, Cardinals as well. I just want to take a look at some of the betting splits for tonight from our friends over at VSiN, which of course accounts for the DraftKings Sportsbook. And looking at this for this evening, so bulk of the money and the handle on the Dodgers money line. It's a little more split, Yankees, Blue Jays, but the Yankees at plus money do have the edge. How do you like these games?
Yeah, I would say if you're just looking to make some just straight game bets, I would probably lean Yankees. It's not my favorite bet of the night, but I sort of see Nestor Cortez and Jose Barrios in a very similar light. Both guys, high ERAs this season, but have past track records of success. Both guys have better ERA estimators than they have actual surface statistics. So there's some positive signs underneath some struggles. Barrios in particular, he gave up 8 runs in his first start of the season, and since then his ERA is well below 3. So he's actually been pitching pretty well. He's pitched well at Rogers Center so far this season. But again, pitching matchup to me is sort of a wash. This comes down to lineup. And the Yankees, despite not scoring a run in 10 innings in last night's game, have the second best WRC plus in baseball in the month of May. The return of Aaron Judge has been very, very good to the New York Yankees. He's come out hot, whereas the Blue Jays have been cold this week, and that is sort of compounded by the fact that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is hurt and not in the lineup again tonight. So to me, these are two pretty evenly matched teams. I just think I would side with the plus money at plus 120 in the money line for the Yankees. I feel more confident taking the Dodgers on the run line at minus 5.5 at plus 105. I can see why the Dodgers have been a very popular team and a very public team. I think, to me, as much as Julio Urias is clearly much better than Adam Wainwright, this mostly just comes down to Adam Wainwright, who I think is just cooked. The writing's been on the wall for Wainwright since spring training. His fastball velocity is way down from where it was last season, and last season it was already really down. He was beat up in both of his rehab starts at AA and at AAA. He's been beat up in his first 2 outings in the majors. I just think the Dodgers can really put a hurting on Adam Wainwright. You can maybe look at the total in that game too. I don't hate over 9, just considering how well the St. Louis Cardinals set up against a left-handed pitcher, even one as good as Julio Urias. But I would say I like the Dodgers run line a little bit more than I like Yankees money line, but that's probably where I would go with the game bets. I do have a couple props though that I feel a little bit more comfortable about. And they're plus money. So a good way to go.
So that's what I was going to ask you about. Obviously, we're just talking Dodgers for anyone watching, as opposed to just listening and looking at your screens and seeing the DraftKings Sportsbook and wondering, all right, why are we looking at, Yankees and Blue Jays pitching props? Well, I brought that up because Nestor Cortez over 4.5 strikeouts. That's a popular play tonight. It's one I like. It's one that I am on. I'm curious as to your thoughts. And also just with what you were talking about with Aaron Judge, if you might be compelled to, either obviously an anytime homer or take it down a notch and go with something like over 1.5 total bases. What are you looking at tonight?
So, I mean, Judge can hit a home run off of anybody. I don't want to put a box around Aaron Judge, but Jose Barrios has some pretty significant handedness splits, basically because his best pitch is his slurve or his sweeper, whatever you want to define it as at this point. But getting that away movement from right-handed bats, he's held opposing right-handed hitters to a sub 300 slugging percentage so far this season, where left-handed batters are hitting 300 with a 522 slugging percentage off of Barrios. So I would go into the hits, runs, RBI market, and Anthony Rizzo is even money, plus 100 to go over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs tonight. The reason why I would go with that particular prop over his total bases prop is Rizzo is someone who likes to take his walks and likes to be hit by pitches. And obviously those two things don't help you in the total bases market. They can at least get him to score some runs in the hits, runs, RBIs market. But this comes down to, again, the overall trends. You've got Anthony Rizzo, who in this line has moved to minus 1.05 or 105, excuse me. But you've got Rizzo, who is a 152 WRC plus hitter so far this season. Obviously, you've got the basic platoon advantage left on right. And because all of these overarching things are sort of pointing in a particular direction, I'm not someone who often goes to the BVP stats, but when they're relevant, I think it is worth noting that Rizzo and Barrios, who have met a lot of times the last 2 seasons in divisional play, Rizzo is 9 for 22 with a 1.189 OPS for his career against Jose Barrios. So he sees them really well. Barrios struggles against left-handed bats. I just think Rizzo, if any Yankee is going to have a big night, it's probably Anthony Rizzo.
Big fan of BVP over here, batter versus pitcher.
I know you are.
May not know. I know you know. All right, in the interest of time, because we are going to bounce around, Ulrich's going to join us in a little bit, get into a bit of hockey and obviously golf with day 1 of the PGA Championship. Let's you and I turn our attention to basketball, because we do have a playoff game tonight, and that is the Lakers and Nuggets. The Nuggets. This was a if you were chasing the cover of the spread, it turned into a stressful game, and it was actually a push, I think, by the end, depending on where you got the number, where you got the line. But a game that was a 20-point lead for a while, double-digit lead for a while there for Denver. Nikola Jokic just went supernova in this contest. Lakers now in danger of going 0-2 going back home, and I realized they'd be going back home, so it's not like the end of the world, but still, you don't want to drop the first 2 in a best of 7. And Denver is just so well-rounded. Jamal Murray was great. They have a good supporting cast there with Gordon and Porter, among others. Contavious Caldwell-Pope had a terrific game last time out. But I just feel, and I don't know, you tell me if this is not the right way to look at it as a bettor. Maybe this is more heart than it is head, but I believe that LeBron James is going to go nuts tonight, and that LeBron is not going to allow his team to go down 0-2 in Denver. Tell me how you feel about this in terms of how you'd bet it.
So Matt and I really broke down this matchup on Tuesday with Glash, and the one thing I said there, and I'll continue to echo it, is until Denver loses a game at home, I'm not going to believe Denver is going to lose a game at home. I believe their record now sits at something ridiculous like 38-4 regular season and playoffs when Nikola Jokic is active and they are playing in Denver. They are just at another level playing in the altitude. I mean, it's funny. We talked about the Lakers Warriors series in this particular view a little bit, where I was saying going into game 6, I know there was a lot of optimism that the Warriors, the championship pedigree, et cetera, could find a way to get this back to game 7. But I was saying you've had 2 games where the Lakers have made 6 or fewer 3-pointers. And they're still just consistently looking like the best team in this game. And sometimes you just can't overcome those stats. The Lakers had one of the weird situations in game 1 where you mentioned Nikola Jokic was superhuman in that contest. I can't remember exactly what the stat was. I tried to find it. It was a couple days ago. I just couldn't find the tweet. But basically, the Lakers became one of the first teams in NBA history to have a player score over 40 points, to shoot over 45% from 3-point range, to shoot over 50% from the field, to shoot over 85% from the free throw line, to win the turnover battle, I think was the other stat. I could be wrong about that one, but to have all these things happen.
That is accurate.
There's no like amendment and lose. Literally, it doesn't matter what the result was. They were the first team to just do all those things in a playoff game, and they still lost. And I think that just speaks to, again, like, what's more likely to happen? That Nikola Jokic will turn in another superhuman performance, or that every single one of those conditions will go right for the Lakers again. And even if they do, they might still lose. I don't think the Lakers are that good a 3-point shooting team, to be perfectly honest.
Mhm.
I just trust Nikola Jokic. I just trust the Nuggets at home. And yes, there is definitely always doubt in the back of your mind when you pick against LeBron, but he's now gone a pretty considerable amount of time between 30-point performances in the playoffs. And I'm not saying he can't do it anymore, but
Sure.
this isn't like 2007 LeBron James where he can just single-handedly carry a team to the playoffs or to the finals, excuse me. I just think Denver's the better team. And I'm surprised this line is lower than it was in game one, considering, like you said, towards the middle of the fourth quarter, it kind of seemed like that might get into blowout territory.
So I'm inclined to agree with you. I do believe that LeBron and it's he can't do it all alone. Obviously, he didn't do it all alone. Anthony Davis was the better player last time out, but I do agree that the Nuggets are the better team. Quite frankly, I think they're the best team in basketball, even though, going into the conference final round, the Celtics were still the favorites to win the championship. Denver, to me, is the most impressive, most consistent team that there is in the league right now. And if they win the championship, that won't surprise me in the least. And if they make, relative easy work of the Lakers, despite this being a virtual pick'em series going into it, that will not surprise me all that much either. But again, coming back to LeBron, what I find really interesting is like Jokic was, again, otherworldly in game one. Davis was incredible in game one. LeBron, his stat line, okay, he had 26 points, 12 rebounds, 9 assists, so nearly a triple-double. And I actually thought in watching the game that he was relatively passive. This is kind of a pattern.
Though.
What's that?
I feel like that sort of like impression. I've heard a lot of people bring that up in a lot of different games so far in the playoffs. And look, again, he's the greatest, if not the greatest, one of the two greatest basketball players to ever play this game.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously he could have a night where he just scores 55 points. That is on the table. But that exact thought, wow, I'm looking at LeBron's line and he's 25, 8, and 8, but it doesn't really feel like he's like taking over the game. That might just be who he is at this point. Like, I just don't know if he has the juice to take over a playoff game, particularly in the altitude. Like, I think the LeBron game might come in Los Angeles. Like, maybe that's the game 3 performance to keep this thing going like completely off the rails when the Nuggets are already up 2-0 in the series.
All right, quickly before we bring Jeff in, look at some other things. Game 2 tomorrow between the Celtics and Heat. I know there'll be another one of these shows prior to that. I'll be on for it, so we'll have more time to preview that. But just sort of your impressions coming off of a game one. I don't want to call it a collapse for the Celtics so much as the Heat took the game. They had an incredible third quarter. Jimmy Butler and Bam and so many others. Really, it was just a balanced attack. It wasn't like one guy, Butler, usually went absolutely insane. But they found a way, obviously, to win that game and really never relented in that fourth quarter as the Celtics were trying to chip away. What are you expecting here in game 2? Sort of similarly, like how I said, can LeBron go down 0-2 in Denver? Can Boston actually not get a split going on the road?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a tough time handicapping this series because I just keep coming back to the fact I truly believe the Celtics are a far superior roster. And look, I'm not someone who doesn't think coaching has an impact. And I think the Celtics aren't alone in this like particular facet. I think he's probably the best coach in the NBA at this point. But, Eric Spoelstra is a very important piece of this series. Mm-hmm. And I don't think it's as simple as I know Timeout is going through NBA Twitter right now. People sort of hypothesizing what Joe Mazzulla thinks he can do with all the timeouts he's saving, whether he gets to use them at a later date or something like that. But it's not just calling a timeout every now and again, as nice as maybe it would be. But, Eric Spoelstra is a fantastic coach. And the Heat, the one area I can definitively say they have an advantage is in the coaching department, because even depth, like admirable that the Heat have been able to sort of sustain the injury to Tyler Hero. And I know Hero gets picked on defensively in the playoffs, but fantastic offensive player, was ginormous in the bubble in their run to the finals in that season. But, this is a team that shouldn't be performing at the level they're performing at, especially considering how bad they were offensively during the regular season. But it's a big number. I know the Celtics covered that number quite a bit the last mean, they've faced the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals so many times now. There's some like definitive trends that are relatively accurate. I just can't shake game 2 Boston Philadelphia out of my head when sort of assessing this game. It just feels like the Celtics come out and even that game was like kind of close going into the half, and then the Celtics just absolutely bludgeoned the 76ers in the second half. I would just be shocked if this is going to Miami with the Celtics down 0-2. So it's a big number, but if I had to pick a side, I would probably say Celtics -9.
Yeah, I laughed that the Celtics lost the game, and game 2 actually opened with a larger spread,
Number, yeah.
8-9. So that's that tells you how the odds makers feel, obviously, about Boston's chances. So, all right, well, let's continue the conversation with playoffs, but we're going to switch gears to hockey. We're going to bring in our guy Moose, Jeff Ulrich. Garion, I don't know if you want to stay or go hang out for the next 15 talking hockey or PGA, or if you want to leave. I'll leave that up to you entirely, my friend.
I mean, I'll listen to Jeff talk some hockey and golf. That's no problem with me.
Yeah, see what we can all learn. All right, well, Moose, welcome in. It's good to see you. And yeah, I have to imagine, despite your disappointment that the Oilers are out, you are excited that you have conference finals ahead of you in the world of the NHL. And starting off, obviously, tonight in the East, we have got Florida, the team that eliminated my beloved Boston Bruins, and Carolina on the other side. Seems like the Hurricanes are kind of a popular money line pick, whereas the Panthers are more of a popular puck line pick. The only sort of consensus is that people love the over, except you don't fall in that category. You're more of an under guy for game 1.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, both these teams have been off for over a week now. I think that one thing that I've really noticed, and we've gotten a lot of examples of it over the NHL over the last couple of years with COVID stoppages and stuff like that. When teams take these breaks, you see them come back, and their offense is just, it takes them a while to get going. I think there's a very good chance you'll see that. And I mean, it's also something to do with the style of teams we have. I mean, Florida, sure, definitely a little bit more open offensively. They have been allowing a lot of shots, but Carolina can be very tight at home. In terms of just hitting unders at home this year, they hit the third most unders in terms of overall. You know, they had a very good record to the under at home. I don't have the exact number, but they were third in terms of under win probability. 2 of the last 3 games between these two teams have seen shutouts. I will not be shocked if we get like some kind of 3-1 game, maybe 3-0 in favor of Carolina potentially as well. So yeah, I do like the under in this one. I like the over in the other series. I mean, since we're on the subject, but for this one, at least starting out, I would lean under. At the very least, I just wouldn't bet the total, but I do think the under is a solid play. So I'm looking for Carolina. I mean, to potentially get off to a good start, but yeah, the 2 best goalies to me that are left in the playoffs are in this series. Ottinger's fine in Dallas, but he's been up and down. Bobrovsky and Anderson are really good, and I'm not sure why people necessarily want to challenge that right now. So I do like the under in this one tonight.
Does it, so like you said, it's either an under or even a stay away spot for you, but does it surprise you that 86% of the handle, 83% of the bets are on the over? I mean, that's not like this, 55-45 advantage. I mean, that is very lopsided.
Yeah, it's recency bias. I mean, it's people just thinking, okay, well, Florida allows a ton of shots. Carolina scored like 6 goals a game against New Jersey, it felt like. But this is a different series. Like it's, everything's just a little bit different. Like I said, it's a long layoff for these teams, man. I have very big concerns about the offenses just coming up and picking up right away. So definitely with the public getting on it too. I would stay away. Again, I don't have the same concerns with the second series necessarily. They haven't had as long a break either, but they're just different chemistry, different things in play there. The goalies there just not as big a concern, and also offenses that we've seen score just in bunches in that other series. So yeah, this is one for me where I think you'll see a closer low scoring game, at least to start.
So I brought up, as people can see, the championship odds, Stanley Cup odds here. Carolina is the favorite at plus 225. Vegas, Bruce Cassidy's Golden Knights plus 260 right behind. Then you have Dallas, then you have Florida. Obviously, most people are, seem to be encouraged, convinced, whatever the word you want to use. They are believers that Carolina will emerge in this series and go all the way for that matter. But if you're purely looking at game 1, are you going with Carolina? Are you as bullish, I guess, as many of the bettors out there?
Yeah, I mean, again, like the money line to me, I like the way I would play Carolina right now. Honestly, I would just bet them to win the Stanley Cup. That's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Or I would bet them to win the series. You're getting a better series line than the money line tonight. Like the money line's been bet down. I think it actually even opened at -140. So I mean, it's fine. You could play them. I would rather bet the series with Carolina. You're getting a better price. I think long term, even if Florida surprises tonight, Carolina's been very good on the road in the playoffs as well. So that's the way I'm looking at it. I actually, honestly, my preferred bet is just to take the under in this game and also hit some props on the Carolina side. Shot on goal props for Carolina forwards. I think there's some really good opportunities. Florida's been allowing 35 shots on goal per game. You got Sebastian Aho, who's been playing like 20 minutes a game. He should play tons of ice in this series. This morning, he was at -105 just to go over 2.5 shots.
Yeah,
I certainly like that. You could even look at Martin Necas, or Natchez, sorry. That you could, his price is far more different, but I mean, top 6 winger as well, going to get a ton of ice. So Brent Burns is another one. You can just take the over 3.5 shots. I think a lot of these main players for Carolina, at the very least, the shot totals are going to go up from what you saw last series. New Jersey, very good at limiting shots. They just had terrible goaltending, who in Carolina is very opportunistic in scoring. But I think it's going to be a little bit tougher to score for Carolina, but also they're going to get more shots on goal. So I think it'll probably even out for them. But yeah, Aho, definitely a player I'm looking at. And like I said, Martin Necas as well.
Before we switch gears to golf, how about a couple of quick thoughts on game 1 tomorrow between obviously Vegas and Dallas?
So again, like I do I like the over tomorrow. I think that, again, that series will be a little bit different. The goaltender's there. Ottinger's good for sure, but he's been an absolute just like roller coaster in the playoffs. Like, so who knows what Jake Ottinger we're going to get. And I think just the way the Stars play too, it's actually a little bit similar to Edmonton. So, Vegas will have their chances, and then Aiden Hill, nice series against Edmonton, nice last game. But I mean, again, we're talking about basically a guy who's been a career backup. I don't even know what team. I think it was like team 3 for Aiden Hill, team 4. I don't know, but not really someone I trust long term there. I kind of and like for the game straight up, I don't have a problem taking the Stars in game 1 either. I like them in this series. +105 is fine. If you want a long-term future on Dallas, though, this might be my favorite bet right now to make is Rupe Hintz, MVP. If you like Dallas and you think about investing in Dallas, I would just bet Hintz at +900, man. I mean, he's leading all skaters in points, all active skaters. He's leading all active skaters in goals. So it doesn't include like McDavid and stuff, who's been eliminated. Sure. But, Hintz was just terrific in the last series. If he continues that pace, if they get to the finals, like this could be +200 in a hurry. So he's got a little bit of competition for sure. Pavelski, Ottinger, but man, Hintz is a really, really good player. And I think that'll just keep shining through here against Vegas. So that's kind of a future I like for them.
Arizona, San Jose, and Vegas for Aiden Hill. I just wanted you to know. I didn't want to leave you confused.
I knew San Jose was in there. I thought Chicago was in there for some reason, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah, Arizona was the longest tenure. He was there for like 4 or 5 years, not even including the minors or whatever it was. All right, in the minutes we have left, PGA Championship round 1 today, God. And Scottie Scheffler's doing what he was supposed to do, but at the time, and when I say at the time, only a couple days ago, his co-favorite John Rahm, and he slipped ever so slightly yesterday into second in terms of outright bets, but he did not do his job. He had 5 bogeys today at least, and is sitting 6 over as I think it's like T132. I mean, he's nowhere close. Whereas obviously Bryson DeChambeau is 4 under and currently in the lead here at this tournament in Rochester. What do you think of what you've seen so far?
So, I mean, I am someone who has lost all credibility with the way my players have gone today. This might be the worst start I've ever seen. Finau's +5. Xander started like +4. At the same time, I was talking up Bryson a little bit last week and in before. Bryson's really interesting right now. I think a lot of people are going to look at this and just be like, oh, yeah, it's like one hot round. Bryson has completely changed his body again. He's changed his diet. He looks like a different person again, but he's still hitting it far. And, the last 3 live events, he's been really good. He was really good last week. Don't be shocked if you get there Sunday and Bryson is still neck and neck here. It's a pretty interesting story. I mean, he won his only major championship basically right here in New York at Winged Foot. So similar style golf course. He's still hitting it a ton, man. Like not much has changed about his game. He just looks better. He looks like a healthy individual again. So really, really interesting. Adam Scott's up there too. He played really well last week. I'm not overly shocked by that. But you mentioned some of the name, like Rahm. I don't know what Tony Finau's doing today. It's certainly not playing good golf. Xander started just terribly. There's others. Matthew Fitzpatrick. This course is tough. I mean, that's what it boils down to. This is even tougher than we had last year. This is basically, we're talking US Open. They might as well just call this the US Open. So you're going to see some ejections. And it's just really about surviving right now. And you see the guys who are surviving are eking out birdies, making pars, and the guys who just got behind early, they're pressing and it's just not working. So yeah, a lot of bad starts, and it's going to be a theme throughout. I mean, some of these guys may recover a bit, but you're also going to see more implosions at the top. So Scheffler, man, I mean, it's looking good. I mean, if you're on Scotty Scheffler, I'll just leave it at that. I mean, Bryson is interesting, but if Bryson is your biggest competition right now, which he kind of is, that's a pretty good spot to be if you're Scotty Scheffler.
Are you a big enough believer in what Bryson's done so far to say, all right, plus 1,100 to win this thing?
I mean, I wouldn't touch him right now. I did bet him earlier today, but it was like plus 8,000 before, he finished his round. I don't think you should jump on Bryson here. No, as confident as I do think he looks, you probably want to take a wait and see. The other thing is, like, Bryson doesn't go off until the afternoon, so giving yourself a chance here to see what happens with this afternoon draw and tomorrow morning is probably the name of the game. I don't think his number is going to get shorter because I still think that, like, all the money's going to be piling in on Scotty Scheffler, which it probably should be. So yeah, just take a wait and see. But if he's still there on Friday, I'd probably have a bit of a different take.
All right, we've got a minute or two left. How about whether it's tourney matchups or someone that has done enough for you, or maybe started off bad enough? Like, if you were looking at what Jon Rahm did on day one, you say, okay, like, he was terrible, but right, I still believe that he's going to rally on day two because he's good enough, and therefore I would bet him to make the cut, something like that. Anything jumping out at you right now going into round two?
I mean, like, looking at Rory, I don't know if we have like live, like top 10 lines or anything like that, but like
top 20.
I mean, we do have live top 10 lines. Where is Rory here? Let's see. Rory's like a top 10 machine at Masters or at majors. He's plus 150 for a top 10. Rory McIlroy has finished top 10 in 9 of the last 15 majors. He's plus one. Plus one's going to be like top 10 by the end of the first round. So, or it's going to be really close. It's going to be like a shot out. I think that's a very fair number for Rory right now, to be honest. By the way, Dustin Johnson sitting at plus 140 right above him is pretty tempting. He's started out his round really well. So,
if anyone heard his presser yesterday, no wonder he's feeling good.
Yeah, no, he's definitely feeling good. But those are two numbers. Like, I mean, again, you're just looking to add a couple bets to your portfolio, whatever. Man, like, those are fair numbers. Again, Dustin hasn't finished his round, but I mean, there's nothing that he's done today that tells me that he's suddenly going to implode here. So, I think those are both fair numbers. Like I said, Rory's record at the majors, I know the wins aren't there, but like 9 top 10s in the last 15, you can't really argue with that. That is, that's impressive.
All right, Gary, and have you been taking notes?
Honestly, I'm glad I stuck around.
He's been taking notes. Don't listen to Jeff about golf.
I'm glad I stuck around because I did not hear that Dustin Johnson quote from yesterday, so I just got to Google it, and I was like, okay, that was fun. glad I'm in the loop on that one.
Yeah, he's living his best life, DJ. It's no wonder he
living
had a
all our
bad
best
back.
lives, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, anybody's best life for sure. All right, well, we've got to go. There's a sim coming up because, hey, you remember those? They're still a great time. One day, Gary and Jeff and I, we're going to be back on the call. I'm going to will it into existence. Atlanta and the New York Jets coming up for you in Simland in just a few minutes. But it is time for us to go. You got playoff basketball, playoff hockey, both on the way tonight, couple of baseball games, and a few more days left of the PGA Championships. Thanks to Gary and thanks to Jeff. Remember the sweat tomorrow morning. I'll actually be there for that. So all the more reason to either tune in or tune out, depending on how you feel. And of course, the slate tomorrow afternoon. So we look forward to that to take you into the weekend and a much anticipated game too for the Celtics around these parts in Boston. So thanks to Undercover Boss Tom, our technical director, Eamon, our producer, these two guys. Like I said, I'm Adam. We'll talk to you again soon.